Hi everyone, it's Allison, and I'm back with another prompt from the 31 Days of Tarot, Anthony's Tarot Challenge. Today is day 7, although I'm recording it on day 6. I just recorded my day 6 one. It's 10 after 11 at night. I've had a super busy day. I got a crazy day tomorrow. But I really wanted to do this one because it's a deck one, and you know I love my deck videos. And I just realized in my last video it was the deck you crossed off your wish list in 2019, and I had 4. Because I didn't read the prompt closely enough. And I also prepped this one, and this is the deck you use the most. And I have 5, which is hilarious because I also talk about how I had this dry spell in 2019 in the middle of the year. So, but I'm going to do it. Anyway, everybody likes looking at decks. These are some different ones I haven't talked about yet. And I promise I won't make it too long. So, the deck that I use, this is a really cool case. I don't know if it was a glasses case or what, but I found it at Goodwill and I was like, I think that'd be perfect for a deck of tarot cards, and it is. So this is, sorry, my dogs are running around. They're chasing my cat. Oh Lord. No, I'm going to keep going. All right. Anyway, this is the deck that I carry around with me. So sometimes the deck in here changes, but this is how I keep it in my purse and keep it protected. And this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody on the planet. My most used deck is a Rider-Waite-Smith. This is the Borderless edition that, again, how much do I need to show of the Rider-Waite-Smith? Of the Centennial, and in my mind they're kind of interchangeable, although, and again, I don't read for other people very much. I'm pretty shy about it, and one of my, well, actually I'll talk about that later because it said drop cards every time. Tarot goal for 2019. But when I have read for friends using this deck, it's been great. Really awesome experiences with it. And when I've talked about this a bit last year too, I think when I first bought it, I was like, you impulse buying dummy. I've got a lot of Rider-Waite-Smiths that I could just trim. But I love it. I love that it's not smaller because I have really big hands and I like bigger cards, like regular tarot size cards. Druidcraft even is a bit big for me, but I love the Borderless just sort of like expands the picture and gives it room to breathe. At the same time, I love the coloration of the Centennial that is present in this deck as well. The sort of aged look of it. The backing is the same as the Centennial, just with a slightly different color that I really like, and the copyright is on the backs, but it's quite small. So I really, really love this deck, and so because I'm more of, I would say, a novice reader for other people, and I wouldn't say I'm very good at it at all. This is certainly the deck that I have the most confidence with. I love it. The classic. I go back to it all the time. Sometimes I go back to another classic, and this box is really battered. I should have taken it out first. But I do also love my Morgan-Greer, and I use that a lot at the beginning of the year. I think this deck is groovy. This deck is quite old, I think. Again, I got this deck at a Goodwill, and the box is pretty battered, and the cards are pretty worn, but I like that. I don't care about using secondhand decks. I'm not superstitious in that way. I'm just a little stitious. Hey, oh, Michael Scott joke. Yeah, everybody knows this deck too, so I'm not really giving anyone they don't know. I'm not crazy about the backs of this one. I don't know. I don't love them, but I do love that 8 of Swords card. They're borderless. They're really Rider-Waite-Smith. They're easy to read. The colors are lovely. It took me a while to get into this deck because of the close-up figures. Only seeing them from the waist up, or sometimes just their face, made it a little harder for me when I was just starting out. But other than that, it's a great, great deck. I haven't read with it since the beginning of last year, but now that I'm looking at it again, I get a warm, fuzzy feeling about this one. So that's the Morgan-Greer. And the third that I used at the beginning of the year, super classic, although it hasn't been around for very long, but a really classic feel, is the Pagan Otherworlds. And I love this deck. This was the first pip deck that really, really worked for me because it's still illustrated. So for example, the Ten of Wands, you can see it's sort of blocking the path to the house and it looks like a burden. It easily recalled the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery for me. So that just really works for me. The artwork is so beautiful. I feel like I'm reading from a deck that's 150 years old, even though it's not. The cardstock is great. The backings are gorgeous. If I had guts, I would edge it, but I don't, so I won't. This is the second edition because I didn't get on it quick enough to get on it. I talked a lot last year about my reservations about this deck and how, oh my God, so pretty. I thought I would hate it. See, look at that illustration there for the Three of Cups. It's enough, right? So this sense of sort of abundance and joyfulness and a pumpkin growing in a garden, like I can visualize the Rider-Waite-Smith Three of Cups, which helps me out, but also use the imagery just in this card. I wasn't sure, I mean, what a great choice for their like, copyright card, basically. I wasn't sure about it because I really didn't like the animal headdresses on some of the cards. I thought they were gross. I still think they're gross, but I don't care. It's lovely. Of course, now we're not coming up to any animal heads. Yeah, I talked about this last year, so people are probably frustrated with me. This is a great example. The Emperor. Like, gross. I don't get. I mean, maybe there's some traditional reason behind it, but he's still super emperor-like. I can overlook it. It's a beautiful card and it's a beautiful deck, and I love it so much. So at the beginning of the year, Rider-Waite-Smith, some variation of it, although the Borderless was probably my #1 this year. Pagan Otherworlds, and then Morgan-Greer. And then I fell off the bandwagon for a long time. I just don't know how I just felt really stalled and stunted. And sorry, I'll turn off my phone. And except, well, at the end of the year, I just like was super consumed by it again. Except for, of course, October and Halloween. I'm a big fan of Halloween, and of course that got me my mind turning to sort of more esoteric things, but also my Robert Place Vampire Tarot. Oh my God, I love it so much. What can I say? He's a genius. When I first stumbled upon this deck in a used bookstore in Prince Edward Island, I couldn't believe my luck because I knew people loved it. And I already knew I loved Robert Place. And I'd had my eye on this deck for a while because I do like sort of macabre things. I was a fan of Penny Dreadful. I like genre shows. I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan back in the day. I love the novel Dracula. I love the novel Frankenstein. I love The Picture of Dorian Gray. So, Rebecca, like these gothic sensibilities really work for me. But I was not good with pip decks at the time I got it. So I was really, I think I should get that upside down. I really wasn't feeling this deck in terms of reading. I just like to look at it and look at the majors. I mean, the Fool is Jonathan from Dracula, the Magician. But it's also not super gory. Like, I know people love the Bohemian Gothic tarot deck. And I've only ever seen YouTube videos on it, but I just can't get up any enthusiasm for that deck for some reason. And I know people love it, but I like this one way better. I don't know why. Because you'd think the Bohemian Gothic would be right up my alley, but it's not. Which is good because it costs a pile of money. Blech. I don't like the backs of these decks. And maybe I might recover these, except for they've got sharp corners, and that I think the sharp corners will only work with the artwork. So I wish they were a bit rounded, because I feel like it might be hard to back them and get the corners perfect. I mean, I guess I can live with them. It's fine. But it's the only thing Robert Place has ever done that I don't like is the back of the Vampire Tarot. Um, yeah. So my other October deck, and this also won't be a surprise because of what I was talking about, um, and this is a great deck, is the Halloween Tarot. This is the one that comes in a little tin. Uh, there we go. I also have the larger deck because, like I said, I really do like larger cards. I initially was just won over by the cuteness of the tins. And so I got the Centennial in a tin, which is good for carrying around, and the Morgan-Greer in a tin, which I never pull out. So the only reason I got this one in a tin is because I thought it might be fun to do some stuff like with kids or my kids' friends or something, and they're little and easy to lay out. And the tin is super cute. For some reason, the tin really works for me for this deck. And I have the big one too. This one was more accessible to me to pull out, although it may be a bit harder to show because the cards are smaller. This deck is great. Way beyond a Halloween deck. I just love it. I love all the thought that went into it. I love the art style. And really, I mean, while I say I do like to read Gothic fiction and historical Gothic fiction, and I do really enjoy that genre. For me, Halloween is, although I love it still, it's a kid's holiday. And that to me is the magic of Halloween, which is why things like this really resonate with me. I don't actually love it personally, just personally. But when people decorate their yards so that it's so scary that kids don't want to go there, like that to me, that's anathema to what I think of as that holiday. To me, the specialness of that holiday is that you get to have fun and use your imagination as a kid. And I remember just planning my Halloween costume for months, and November 1st of the year being like, what am I going to be for Halloween next year when I go out trick-or-treating? But also this really special thing where in your neighborhood, you open your doors maybe to kids you don't know, and everybody participates in this big game for a night, and it hands out candy to kids they maybe don't necessarily even know, and that, you know, parents are carrying around their toddlers and whispering, say thank you from the bushes. Like that to me is Halloween. And so while I do love my Robert Place Vampire Tarot, this to me just evokes my inner child, and makes me happy about Halloween. But as you can see though, it's not like it goes for all of the cards, even the sadder cards, right? The spilled candy of the 5 of pumpkins. Well, Hangman's not really. The 10 of ghosts is a Halloween party. I just love it so much. That little black cat. Oh, where is he in this one? Oh, he's right in the corner. I have my finger over him. But there's a little black cat that sort of travels through the cards, all of the cards, and takes you on a journey through the stories. Judgment, just like coming out of their graves, and the cat sort of coming out of the graves, rise, and then the other grave says, awaken sleeper. The death card. Let's just take a look at this death card. So there is an ankh, a turkey vulture, grinning sunflowers, a skeleton, but he's watering the pumpkins that are becoming jack-o'-lanterns. I mean, it's one of the richest tarot decks I have, and to classify it just as a deck for kids is really not to do justice to this great little deck. Again, I really am in the mood for it in October, but then when at times like this, I pull it out and I'm like, I can use it all the time. I think it's great. And I have to say, this is going to be a controversial take. I know everybody right now is talking about the Dark Mansion Tarot, and it is adorable, and I love the Tim Burton-ness of it all. I like this better. I think it's more complex. I think it's cuter, and it's way cheaper, you guys. So much cheaper. Well, for somebody like me in Canada, anyway, because I can get it on Amazon. And then like qualify for free shipping. So if you're in the States, it's probably not that. It may not make such a difference to you. But this deck is just flippin' great. And I looked at a lot in October and it just made me so happy. And God, I just want to keep flipping through it right now. It's so great, you guys. This is the back. It's fully reversible. I know people have trimmed and edged it. I'm not gonna. I like the little borders on this one. I think, well, certainly this edition, I wouldn't want it any smaller than it already is. And I don't know, maybe I would trim my other one, knowing that it's readily available and easy to get if I screw it up. Yeah, man, I love it. So that's the Halloween Tarot by Kipling West. There is an edition that comes with a guidebook that I always hem and haw about trying to get. It wasn't available on Amazon when I got either of these two decks, and I looked for it twice. Sorry, either the tin or the regular. And I am tempted to get a third one just to get my hands on that book because I'd love to read. But on the other hand, I don't feel like I really need it. So if I ever came across it at a really reasonable price, maybe I'd get it. But so those were my most worked decks of 2018. And I gotta go to bed. It's 11:30 and I still have so much to do. So, man, this is fun though, right? This is fun. I love this. Thanks, Ethany. It's awesome. See you soon.